I'm giving you guys a pre-warning that this is a little juicy, as well as viewer slash listener discretion is advised. I mean, we being honest and transparent, right? Right? Back in my raggedy days, I might not have turned it down. And when I say raggedy, I mean like back in my early 20s, living in Arizona, I was hurt from the love of my life. I probably would not have turned it down. And I'm just being really honest, really transparent with y'all. Like, I probably haven't told anybody that, but I wouldn't have turned it down. Welcome back to the Just Healing Podcast. I am your host, Jasmine, and here at the Just Healing Podcast, I created this space so that I can heal freely, but also create a community of healers who just want to heal, really. I mean, that's really all it is to it. But through that healing, I've learned that you have to be vulnerable. You have to be transparent. You have to cry. Like, you have to let it out. If you don't let it out, you're just not going to heal. Like, that's all it is to it. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of just being transparent, being vulnerable, trying to cry if I need to get it out. Like, I'm not someone who really cries in front of people, but using this space to be comfortable to do that, I feel like it's definitely a safe space. If you are amongst the petty crowd, this is your area. Like, you are welcomed here. I welcome all pettiness from anywhere, as long as you're supposed to be here. Like, if you're not part of the community, you can go somewhere and be petty somewhere else. But yeah, through just transparency, vulnerability, storytelling, being petty, crying, laughing, because I'm gonna laugh. Like, I'm gonna cry about it, but I'm gonna laugh. So I created this space to be able to just share my journey of healing. I have really learned that healing is absolutely just that. It is such a journey. No one knows, when it'll fully end. No one knows if it'll fully end. Like, I feel like, one day you could feel fine, the next day, next week, next month, next year, you may feel totally different. It's absolutely a journey. So I want to invite you on the journey with me as one of my healers. And welcome back. If you are already a healer, welcome back. Glad to see you. Sorry I've been gone. We're gonna get into the why. So I love to start off my episodes with a segment called Healing with Feelings. This is really when I like to really just check in with myself. But, having this platform, you're definitely sharing with others, but really checking in with myself on how I'm feeling. Like, what is my emotion? I can vividly remember that, and I still do it sometimes if we're being honest, because we got to be honest, because we're also honest. I don't know if I mentioned honesty in the intro, but we're also honest over here. So if I'm being honest, I do still struggle with this sometimes, but I really intentionally try to not. But I like to check in with myself and my emotions and how I'm feeling. And the last time I filmed was in December. And to be honest, I had all the intentions on filming through the holidays, especially since my mom was here. I was like, that's a perfect time for me to get some filming out, for me to get some episodes out. But to be honest, like, my feelings since the holidays have just been it's been a mixture of survival mode and really just a little bit of anxiety in there. Also, just a little bit of sadness. This was my first holiday season without my dad. And I don't want to say it was easier than I thought, because I think a little bit of the reason it seemed easier is because I kind of just disassociated from the fact that he wasn't here. So instead of thinking this was just my first holiday without him, at first I kind of just found myself being like, oh, my mom's here and he's just not. And so that's very similar to how it was last year. Him and my mom came for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, but my mom only came for Christmas. And so I kind of mentally made myself be like, he's just not here. And if I'm being honest, that quickly went away, because the reality is, when my dad was living, that man would call my mother every 25 minutes. So they were always on the phone, always talking. It was almost like sometimes so my dad refused to fly, but he did fly to Jamaica to go to my sister's wedding, but flying just wasn't his thing. So he would get on the train. And sometimes I think, my mom, it was so easy for her to just jump on a flight and come. It wasn't as easy for him to just jump on the train and come and, spend 48 hours on the train. And so I think sometimes he would call so much so that he could be on FaceTime, and so that he could feel like, he was spending time with his grandkids at the same time as my mom was. That's one of my assumptions. My other assumption is that I just feel like sometimes older people, not old, older people just like being on the phone. And that's just all it is to it. So, I had all the intentions to film, but my heart posture just wasn't really in it. And if you know anything about me, then I can't do it without the heart posture, because it will come off just not good. I have since, calmed down. I don't feel like I've been as anxious, but I have been just like very, how you come into a new year and most of the time it's like new year, new me, not bringing old stuff with me. What I'm going through right now, I can't help but to bring with me in the new year, if that makes any sense, because it's not over. And so coming into the new year, I kind of just still came in with a little bit of like, oh, why is this still going on? And I think it just really impacted my mood, if I'm being honest. Like, in my mind, I just knew this all would be over last year in 2024. So walking into 2025 with it still is just insane to me. And so, I just wasn't in the space to really record. I really wanted to do a second year sobriety of holidays with a narcissist, because being free from something like that is on another level. But like I said, I just didn't get around to it. Be sure to let me know though if you do want an episode like that, because it's interesting, just how your holidays do change when you're not in that type of toxic environment and relationship anymore. You really do find yourself being excited about the holidays. Like, I feel like for the last 6 or 7 years, I never even received like a Christmas present from my partner. So, and let me not say partner, from a whole husband, I didn't even receive like a Christmas present. So just imagine, you're buying someone something, then of course, I bought my daughter's her Christmas stuff, and so just imagine everybody opening up things and you're just sitting there looking stupid. And then of course, as my daughter got older, like, she would ask questions like, why didn't you open anything? Well, because your father didn't give me anything. But who's gonna say that to a kid, right? Nobody. But it's just little things like that where I feel, coming into the holidays, I used to be really anxious because I just knew I had to go through that kind of like humiliation ritual of not getting anything. It was just weird behavior, but whatever. So that is why I did not film. However, my healing hack, so healing hacks is something that I like to tell you guys what I'm doing just to kind of like take care of me. There's this real sound that I always listen to, and it's like, who takes care of you? And it's like at the end of the day, as a single mom, you're taking care of you. You don't have a partner, you know, you can have family who like checks on you, but at the end of the day, you're taking care of you. So I try to come up with healing hacks that are healing for me, that are fun for me, and just different things that, you know, kind of take my mind away from what's really going on. So this episode's healing hack is actually content creating. So I have given myself kind of like an assignment to be more active on Instagram. I would love to grow my personal page as well as, of course, the Just Healing podcast page. And by doing that, I really want to just start and I've started, but continue creating content around just my story, my testimony. And I feel like as more things come to a close, I'll be able to share more, be able to be more open, more vulnerable. But creating the content has definitely been a real just like relaxing, healing thing for me. So if you're up to it, if you know your mind is telling you, like if that's where your mental is, I definitely suggest creating content. Like it is just such a fulfilling shedding activity. So let's just get into it. Let's get into this episode. I know you guys are looking at the title. I know you're like, oh girl, come on, not you getting juicy on the pod. Not you getting juicy on the pod. Yes, I am actually. So in my previous episode, if you have not watched or listened, be sure to go back and listen and watch. It was really just talking about how my ex was on Bumble, and how to this day, years later, I still don't know why he was on Bumble, because I was pretty much gaslit about why he was on Bumble. So this episode is, I wouldn't say very similar, but it was number one around the same time frame. But number two, I feel like with this incident, well, series of kind of incidents, I feel this is one of the biggest things I was able to look at myself and take accountability and say, you know, what could you have done or could you not have done that, you know, would have prevented any of this from even occurring? Like, how could you have stood more strong on your boundaries? How could you have stood more strong on your self-respect so that none of this would have even occurred? And I think when you get to that space and healing, when you're able to like really take accountability, I think that is when the real just healing starts. And I didn't say that's when the work starts, because I think the work is a part of the accountability, but that healing comes easy after you've done the work of taking the accountability. So while you're healing, and while I truly understand that, you know, someone hurt you, multiple people may have hurt you, I really want you to take a step back and just ask yourself what part you played. This is not, I'm not talking about if something happened during your childhood, because I'm sorry, I am one to believe that it's not a child's fault when any type of abuse occurs. But I do feel like, you know, if you're an adult, if you're able, to just sit back and ask yourself what part you played. So, without further ado, let's just get into this thing. And I'm giving you guys a pre-warning that this is a little juicy, as well as viewer / listener discretion is advised. So this was certainly after the Bumble incident, but not like far after. I remember saying that the Bumble incident was around July, so we got that event happened in April. Bumble incident was around July. This had to be around, honestly, like late August, late September, going into October, in like your November months. So I remember like it was yesterday, which I really hate when I remember things, but I also think that's how I have to connect and disconnect from things, because I don't remember them just on like a regular day. I have to be talking about it. But if I'm talking about it, I can like say the incident like from moment to moment. But I really love that God has given me the grace that it's not constantly on my mind. And that is not something I have to, just be constantly thinking about. So anyway, had to be late September, going into October. I don't know if I was off that day or just working from home, but I was definitely at home. And he said that, so he started it off by saying I should allow him to sleep with another woman. So it could be the same woman, but it would happen, over and over. But he made it very clear through gaslighting that the main reason why he didn't want to get married is because he didn't know if he was ready to get married. And for me, I was just sitting there looking like, what the heck are you talking about? Because number one, you proposed to me. I'm not one of the girlies, and I'm not even going to put out a disclaimer like, and to anybody who do, no. We are not proposing to men, period. Like, we're not doing it. So, yeah, I remember he based it off that pretty much, like, because, that was like one of my main reasons why I wanted to go to counseling. And he did, like, he was very, very, very adamant about going to marriage counseling. It was so ironic, though, because the counselor that we ended up going to, the therapist, he actually had seen her before. And the only reason he stopped seeing her is because he said she tried to hit on him. Because everybody did. Everybody wanted him. Everybody. The young, the old, the men, the women. It didn't matter. Everybody wanted him. And so it was so ironic that I was like, okay, so this is the same lady that allegedly tried to hit on you. However, we're going to see her for our marriage counseling. That should have been red flag number one. Honestly, the more and more I think about things, I'm like, girl, you needed like a red flag meter in your head or something, because that should have been a red flag right there. Whatever. And so we went to see her, but one of his biggest reasons that he wanted to see her is because, again, he did not feel that he was actually ready to be a husband. And his only reasoning for not feeling like that was because it was like, what if I didn't do everything I wanted to do with women before getting married and before being tied down? For me, this was a little confusing because we had already been together for 5 years. So it's almost like, well, what you been doing, my boy? Like, what have you been doing? Because, the only thing was we didn't have the piece of paper. So what were you doing? So anyway, so then he goes on to tell me, we're back in September, end of September. He goes on to tell me, I just think this should be something that should be done because honestly, like, you really rushed the wedding. That was always a thing too, where it was like, you rushed the wedding. I didn't rush the wedding. You proposed. I set a date, because that's usually what people do. I set a date. I actually intentionally set my date when I did because I knew that my sister was going to be getting married the following year, and I didn't want my little goofy wedding, because that's what it was. That's what I knew it was going to be, even at the time of planning it, to take anything away from that. So anyway, I set the date. You agreed to the date. Although he did come once, I think in like January, it was like, you know what, let's not do it this day. And I'm like, okay. And I cried, but who wouldn't? And then I remember when I cried, he was like, no, 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 never mind, let's just still do it, He said, let's just still do it, and literally threw it in my face the entire time that I forced him to get married when we did. And so, yeah, he was like, if I had more time. And so this whole time though, I'm sitting here like, okay, so if you had more time to do what? Like, were you going to propose and then we break up momentarily so you can go do what you need to do? Like, how does this work? Because once again, you're the one who proposed, not me. And so, that moment I shut the idea down. I was like, no, that's not happening. Sorry. And so then, he came back like October, same thing. Like, I really just think, like if you just think on it, like I really just think. And I'm like, again, no, like this is silly. So then like mid-October to like end of October, he then switched the tone to, would you be down for a threesome? Y'all, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Back in my raggedy days, like, I mean, we being honest and transparent, right? Right? Back in my raggedy days, I might not have turned it down. And when I say raggedy, I mean like back in my early 20s, living in Arizona, I was hurt from the love of my life. I probably would not have turned it down. And I'm just being really honest, really transparent with y'all. Like, I probably haven't told anybody that, but I would have turned it down. I'm not like, your girl was down with the activities, like just adventurous, just out here being raggedy. Probably while we're in this situation right now, but yeah, I wouldn't have turned it down. But as a married mother, I was like, absolutely not, absolutely not. And he kept going on and on about it, and to the point where like he started like sending me like these girls, to where I'm like, do you know them? Like, are these girls you have already been talking to? Because you're ready. Like, you're literally sending me these girls. And it had to be one day, like early November. I was finally just like, you know what? Fine, let's do it. And no. Nope, I'm wrong. He kept saying it, so I actually said, you know what, fine, go find you a girl, like, you can do it, I don't care, like, because you're not gonna let it go, so go ahead. So we were happening to go, is that a word? We had just so happened, oh my gosh, what is happening? We were going to Cleveland for my sister's bridal shower, just me and my daughter. And so he wasn't going. Also, side note, that was my favorite trip in Cleveland. That he wasn't there. Favorite trip. Like, favorite. Although he still harassed and just called off the hook, text off the hook. I had to tell him my every move. It still was amazing that for the first time since being with him, I literally was just away from him for so long, and it was such an amazing feeling. Like, I literally did not want to come back. We were going, and there was obviously this girl that he had been talking to. I think she lived like an hour and a half away or something, and he was like, well, this is the girl, like, I'm probably gonna, just set it up while y'all gone, so it's, not as bad. Again, I'm like, you know what, whatever. Like, at this point, I don't care. Like, this marriage is obviously doomed anyway. I don't care. Do it. And so we went to Cleveland, we came back. He claimed he didn't do it. I don't know if he did or not, to be honest. I wasn't there. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, would you have told me if you did? Like, I don't know. And so we came back. When we came back, he pretty much was like, well, I didn't do it. I couldn't do that to you. Like, you're my baby. I couldn't do that to you. Like, I would have felt so bad doing that to you. But, I mean, I think since I didn't do it, this would be the perfect time to, like, reconsider, like, a threesome. Like, because, then you know what's going on. That I ain't cheating on you. Everything. Blah, blah, blah. Gaslighting me. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? Okay, Like, let's go. Let's go for it. And so, if I'm being honest, I know me, and I know I would have never went through with it. Like, it could have been down to the moment, okay, the moment of truth. I wouldn't have went through with it. But it was, number one, something to shut him up. Number two, where I start to take accountability. I felt like if I did it, maybe, just maybe, he would see that, this girl would do anything for me. Like, and now that I look back on it, it definitely wasn't for love, because I really didn't love him like that. And I know that is like so crazy to hear, but I didn't. Like, it was all very circumstantial. So it was all very like, this is the position I'm in. This is obviously the person I have to be with because we have a kid. We're now married. Like, it was just all very circumstantial. Like, it definitely wasn't, I didn't have a feeling of one of those like, oh my gosh, I love my man so much, so I'm gonna give him a threesome. No, it was more like, I want him to shut up and I want him to be nice to me. I want him to like me. So let me give him a threesome. And so he started like sending me more of these girls. And there was one girl who I was like, okay, well, let it be her. It can be her. I never reached out to her. I never said anything about it to her. And then he was like, oh, well, the way it work is like, I actually got to sleep with him first, because they got like every girl, like the way threesomes work is every girl want to know like what's going down, like who they about to be with. And I'm like, first of all, that's a lie. I don't know much about threesomes, but I do know that, number one, most of the time, if we being real, the girls be more into each other than they are into you. So what are we doing here? And so he pretty much just kept saying that, which in my mind was just another way of being like, ultimately, I still want to get what I wanted to do out the way. But I'm gonna just throw this threesome in here to, throw you off a bit, because he thought I was dumb as a rock. Throw you off a bit, and then I'm still gonna get what I want plus a threesome. So this went on like the talking about it for months. And then I actually, so we're into like the next year. We went to my sister's wedding. Shortly after my sister's wedding, well, not shortly after, a couple months after, I found out I was pregnant. And so my pregnancy was just terrible. I have not even told you guys the story about how I allegedly was sleeping with a man I never met, because he wrote happy birthday on a picture that wasn't even my picture to post. Like, we weren't even friends on social media, but we slept together. But that was right before I got pregnant. And so my pregnancy was terrible. But during my pregnancy is when this came up again. And I just remember him being like, man, like, I think this is the perfect time. Like, you pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, but like, the only thing is like, because at that point I was so over it. I'm like, do it. I don't care. Like, do it. I don't care. Like, I do. Like, the previous year, I was almost like, you gonna do it anyway. When I was pregnant, like, I was like, I don't care. Like, I pray you go cheat on me, get somebody pregnant, leave me and go live happy with her. Like, I promise y'all, promise y'all, that was my mindset. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, please cheat on me. Please, like, please fall in love. And so I was at work one day and he was like, well, you gotta promise you're not gonna leave me. You gotta promise you're not using this as a reason to leave or a reason to like throw it back on me. And y'all, he made me like write up a pretty much like contract. It was one paragraph that pretty much was like he could go and sleep with someone else and I wouldn't leave or be mad or bring it up in the future, and sign it with my signature. And guess who dipsy whipsy stupido did it? Me. Sure did. I sure did. And yeah, I signed it. And I remember this one day, he had came home late and I sensed it. Like, you know how you just sense something? I sensed it. I'm like, he was out cheating. Like, he definitely was out cheating. And so he came in, I'm like, you was out with another girl? And he was like, no, like, almost though. Like, that's crazy you felt that. Cause like, almost, like, I almost went through with it, but I'm like, I can't do that to her. I can't do that to her. Like, yes, you did though. And y'all, it was so thick. It was so thick. It was just thick. And so, of course, I don't know about Bumble, so I don't know if he ever did or not. But I think the biggest takeaway for me was that during the time that I was agreeing to threesomes was the same time that like God literally came into my room and sat on the edge of my bed and was like, no ma'am. Like, God was literally like, if you don't get your butt out of this situation right now. If y'all watching, I'm doing the Black Mama lips. That's how that is how much I felt conviction from God. And I feel like from that day forward, that was really when, I was raised in the church. Absolutely. Went to church every Sunday. Went to kids' church. I was a junior usher board. I read the responsive reading. I read the scripture. I did the welcomes. I did whatever my mama told me to do. I danced. I was in the choir. I did whatever that woman told me to do. However, I feel as an adult, your walk with Christ is just different. Like, because you're no longer being told you need to go to church. You're no longer being told what is, Christian like, and you are able, when you become an adult, you quite literally are able to make your own decisions. And that's also the thing about God. He gives us all the freedom to make our own decisions, and being able to take accountability and know that even though it didn't happen the way I was letting my flesh just be disgusting with even the thought of it, even, almost down to the freaking planning of it. Like, God forbid he, went with his plan, met this girl, told her this is happening, and they just show up, just anything, like, because I allowed it. And so when I was able to step back, I'm just so happy that, number one, God gave me his grace and he put his hands on me and he said, no, ma'am. Because I think that my healing journey could be looking way different than it is. And it already look about crazy, okay? But it could be looking way different, because another thing about narcissists is that they are the absolute pros at triangulation. And so just imagine, you're not only getting supply from one, you're getting supply from two. And you being someone who thinks you're the best looking person on this planet, you are then going to pin these two women together to fight over you. You're getting supply. It's just insane. It is insane. And I am just so grateful to God that he did not allow me to go down that path. Like, y'all don't even know. Like, God literally saved me. And because of that, I just even think so differently now. That's why I'm like, there's no way that if this, were to occur, Now, first of all, my man he ain't coming like that, because the man that God has for me, he just ain't coming like that. Like, I don't care what nobody say, he's not coming like that. Like, because that's gonna be my man, my man, my man, my man, my man. He gonna be in his soft era but still masculine, okay? He gonna let me live in my soft era. It's just gonna be a time. It's gonna be a time. But yeah, no, seriously, I'm just so grateful, like, for God's grace and conviction, and just giving me another chance, and just making, like I said, my healing journey is still insane. Like, the whole experience was still insane, but it could have been worse. And yeah, I'm just grateful, and I'm grateful that not only it could have been worse for, the relationship, but just for me, like, just as someone who, I don't think I would have enjoyed that. I'm just glad I didn't have to experience that. So I know this was an interesting episode. I hope that you guys are really, in your we listen and we don't judge era, because I feel like some of y'all might be judging me. And that's fine. That's fine. You put your stuff out and you could be judged. No, seriously. I hope you guys just listen, and more so than anything, take from it just accountability, and how sometimes when we think that we're doing something and we know though that it's not of us, just really being able to not do it. And if we do or think about it, just really being able to take accountability for that. I think that's so important. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate my podcast on Apple Podcasts. Head over to YouTube, like this video, subscribe to my channel. Even if you don't watch the videos and you're more of a listener, it would really help me out if you guys subscribed to my channel, as well as follow me over at Instagram at Just Healing Podcast, as well as TikTok. What are we going to do if they take away TikTok? Like, we're going to have a whole episode of healing off of that alone, because what? Y'all taking away TikTok though? Y'all taking away TikTok though? That's crazy. But until then, go ahead and follow me at Just Healing Podcast on TikTok. And I will see you guys in my next episode. Bye, my healers.